Your favorite movie villain spent more time in the makeup chair than you might be ready to believe. It takes a lot of work to look this fierce.
Lee Pace has appeared in a whole bunch of movies and TV shows over the years, but arguably, his most high-profile role is Ronan the Accuser, the alien villain of the 2014 Marvel film Guardians of the Galaxy. In the comics, Ronan is part of the blue-skinned alien species known as the Kree, so makeup artists Elizabeth Yanni-Georgiou and David White had to paint Pace's whole body blue and almost entirely shroud his face in black tar. While promoting the film, Pace told the YouTube channel Screen Slam that he actually loved wearing his extensive makeup because it serves as a mask for the character. He explained, "I move my face in a different way, but what's great about that too is that it's not the way the character looks, it's the way he wants to look. He's got blue skin, but on top of that, he's painted this fearsome mask because that's how he wants to present himself to the world." Yanni-Georgiou and White also designed the look for other extraterrestrial characters in the film, which earned them an Oscar nomination for Best Makeup and Hairstyling in 2015. As for Pace, he went on to play Ronan again in 2019's Captain Marvel, forgoing the black face paint since the movie takes place before Guardians and features a less radicalized version of the character. French actress Maïwenn Lebesco, known mononymously as Maïwenn, portrayed the tall and mysterious alien opera singer Diva Plavalaguna in 1997's The Fifth Element. In a rare interview regarding her extraterrestrial role in the movie, Maïwenn explained how The Fifth Element's French writer-director Luc Besson, who was engaged to her at the time, offered her the part of Diva. Maïwenn initially passed, however saying, "Oh, thank you, but if I love you, I want to show you my love that is pure, so I don't want to work with you." Besson ended up hiring a German model to play Diva, but she didn't show up to her makeup test, and so Maïwenn stepped in to play the part. Maïwenn also revealed that applying the prosthetics needed to play Diva took 3 hours every day. The team, led by Lois Burwell, applied makeup around Maïwenn's head before they glued Diva's giant prosthetic dome onto her own. They then gave Maïwenn stilts and the dress, and since Maïwenn was so tall in her stilts, she required a special chair and her own crew to help her eat and drink. New Zealand-born actor Jermaine Clement is best known for playing comedic roles in movies and TV shows, such as What We Do in the Shadows and Flight of the Conchords. But he also played a terrifying alien villain in the 2012 film Men in Black 3, for which he wore an absolute ton of prosthetics and makeup.
And it took 8 hours. So before you even start a work day, you've already had what most people think of as a work day.
Luckily, by the end of the shoot, the makeup team had managed to get that time down just a little.
But then they gradually got it down to 4 hours. Now we can do it in 3 hours.
Legendary makeup artist Rick Baker, who designed the aliens for Men in Black 3 and its two predecessors, brought Boris to life and even made him scarier than intended. In 2012, Baker told Digital Trends, "In the script I got originally, he was a biker, but they described him as Dennis Hopper from Easy Rider. I said, you know what, I think he should be intimidating like Charles Manson or 1960s Hell's Angel president Sonny Barger. I did these designs and kind of reinvented what I thought he should be." Actress, model, and dancer Sofia Boutella played the alien warrior Jayla in 2016's Star Trek Beyond, her first role that involved prosthetic makeup. While promoting the film, Boutella explained to Screen Slam why she enjoyed the long makeup process, saying, "The meditation aspect of it is like getting into character. You actually take this time. Sometime you get on set and you have very little time. I've never done prosthetics before. I like that second skin. I like what it brought to me. It's like as soon as I had it on, you feel in character." Joel Harlow, the movie's makeup designer, explained to Inverse in 2017 why applying makeup to Boutella took longer than doing the same to Idris Elba, who played the film's similarly inhuman-looking villain Krull. He said, "It's deceptively elaborate, with lots of intricate dissections. Sofia Boutella wore a forehead that came down her cheeks and black design markings that went all the way down to her chin. The mouth, nose, and chin are Sofia. Otherwise, everything else is all a prosthetic." The time it took was worth it in the end, though, because Harlow and fellow makeup artist Richard Alonso both received an Oscar nomination for their work on Star Trek Beyond. British actor and comedian Simon Pegg portrayed the slimy alien junk dealer Unkar Plott in 2015 Star Wars Episode 7, The Force Awakens. In a 2016 interview with Nerdist, the movie's creature supervisor Neil Scanlon explained that while they applied prosthetics to Pegg during the makeup process, they also got a little help from the VFX department. He said, "I think they did a little bit of CG enhancement on the inside of the mouth as well to give him a slightly wider gape in his mouth than what you could do in real life. Obviously, it would have just been Simon's mouth otherwise. Even though a little CGI was used to bring Unkar Plot to life, it was nowhere near the amount used for Lupita Nyong'o Ma's Katana or Andy Serkis's Supreme Leader Snoke, which were full-blown motion capture performances. For Plot, though, this successful blend of CGI and practical effects helped Scanlon and the film's special effects team earn themselves an Academy Award nomination. Sadly, Pegg himself didn't find the suit all that comfortable.
And I had these big rubber, like silicone gauntlets on, which were my fingers. And when I took them off, I could pour the sweat out.
At least he didn't have to wear it for long. Australian actor Ben Mendelsohn has played countless villains throughout his long career, but his turn as the alien Talos in 2019's Captain Marvel is one of the few roles for which he actually wore prosthetics and makeup. Although he gets to spend a little time out of makeup in the movie, Talos' true appearance is that of a Skrull, a race of green, shape-shifting aliens who are frequently found stirring up trouble in the Marvel Universe. To Talos' credit, at least, he and his cohorts are revealed to be refugees from the Kree Empire halfway through the events of Captain Marvel, so it's quite literally not all bad. To throw audiences off that particular twist, Legacy FX supervisor Shane Mahan made the film's Skrulls look as intimidating as he could, landing on an appearance similar to that of their comic book counterparts. When asked about the length of the makeup process, Mendelsohn told Entertainment Weekly that, in total, it only took a couple of hours. When asked if the makeup team managed to quicken the process at all, Mendelsohn replied, "They have. What do? I sit there. No, they have. They're awesome. It's a couple of hours. It's not that big a deal, you know?" Josh Brolin may have donned his motion capture suit to play the alien villain Thanos in the Marvel Cinematic Universe, but he wasn't actually the first actor to play the role. In fact, American actor and stuntman Damien Poitier underwent a round of prosthetics to portray the Mad Titan in a mid-credits stinger at the end of 2012's The Avengers. Flash forward to 2014 when Poitier explained to the Geeks with Wives podcast how he discovered which character he would play in The Avengers. The actor said, "I found out when I was in the makeup chair what I was doing. They kept it super quiet because they didn't want to put any spoilers out. So they kept it super quiet, what I was doing. And I didn't find out until they were casting my face to do the sculpt." Although Poitier sadly wasn't destined to play Thanos again, he did play Hero Merc 1 in 2016's Captain America Civil War, so that's something, at least. In 2018, the costume and creature design powerhouse Ironhead Studio, led by Jose Fernandez, shared a behind-the-scenes photo on their Instagram of Poitier wearing the Thanos makeup and prosthetics. As the caption details, although Thanos ended up getting a digital sheen for the film and eventually became fully digitally rendered in Avengers Infinity War, Jose still has a soft spot for this practical makeup design. While the practical Thanos makeup was done away with for later Marvel movies, Ironhead did go on to design costumes for Captain America Civil War, as well as a number of other high-profile movies and TV shows, including Aquaman and The Mandalorian. Australian actress Elizabeth Debicki has starred in a number of high-profile movies and TV shows throughout her career, but her turn as the alien queen Aisha in 2017's Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2 was easily the most makeup-heavy of them all, requiring her to be painted gold from head to toe. While promoting the film, Debicki spoke to comicbook.com about putting on the makeup. She recalled, "They built a sort of car wash. There was a lot of paint and a lot of sitting around and drying. It's quite an intimate process." The film's makeup department head, John Blake, also spoke to Makeup Artists magazine about giving Aisha's species, the Sovereign, their gold look. Going into detail about the trouble they had trying to land on a good color, he explained, "There's a lot of gold makeup out there, but some of it doesn't really have a metallic gleam, while others have the metallic gleam but can look very textury and crusty. So it was just a matter of mixing batch after batch of different materials before I could come up with a gold that had the right amount of softness and metallic gleam to it." In the end, Blake and the makeup team succeeded in giving the Sovereign a bright and visually arresting gold look, one that made them one of the most memorable aspects of the entire movie.
Although writer Clive Barker didn't name the lead Cenobite Pinhead in his novel The Hellbound Heart, the character's distinctive appearance earned him the nickname that stuck throughout the Hellraiser series. Ever since Barker adapted his own story to the screen in 1987, English actor Doug Bradley has become synonymous with the soul-harvesting Pinhead.
We have such sights to show you.
Bradley is part of a special group of horror actors who have played their haunting characters at least 6 times in a row. He's accompanied by Tobin Bell as Jigsaw, Warwick Davis as the Leprechaun, Brad Dourif as Chucky, Christopher Lee as Dracula, and Robert Englund as Freddy Krueger. But he's also developed a somewhat complicated relationship with the franchise. Bradley opted not to return for 2011's Hellraiser Revelations, and the saga seems to have moved on without him. 2018's Hellraiser Judgment marked the second installment to feature a different actor under the makeup, and 2022's Hellraiser reboot changed things up by casting Pinhead as a woman. Still, Bradley will always be Pinhead to us, and we have to think that the majority of franchise fans agree. Tobe Hooper's 1974 horror flick, The Texas Chainsaw Massacre, spawned several kooky and bizarre sequels, but the original is notable for how much it stood out from other genre entries from the era. Heavily inspired by the horrific true story of Ed Gein, Leatherface got his name from his revolting headpiece made of human skin. While plenty of people have picked up the chainsaw since, we'll always remember Gunnar Hansen for his original and only portrayal of the role. Hansen set the standard for how to properly play a chainsaw-wielding maniac, utilizing mannerisms that have been repeated time and time again in the character's other appearances. Fans of the B-movie Mosquito will also recognize Hansen as one of its main characters, who actually uses a chainsaw to fight off enormous blood-sucking bugs. Hansen turned down a number of later opportunities to play terrifying bad guys, opting instead to focus on his passion for writing. Eventually, Hansen returned to Hollywood, accepting roles in horror outings like Swarm of the Snakehead. Sadly, though, Hansen succumbed to pancreatic cancer in 2015 at the age of 68. Ridley Scott's Alien revolutionized both the science fiction and horror movie genres in 1979. When pre-production began, no one knew who was going to be cast as the film's titular monster, but eventually, Ridley Scott was introduced to Nigerian design student Bolaji Badejo. Badejo's lanky frame and near 7-foot-tall height would help convince viewers that the film's monster was not just a guy in a suit, but an extraterrestrial killing machine.
You still don't understand what you're dealing with, do you? Perfect organism.
Badejo only played the alien in the first film of the franchise, but still left a heavy impression. Future Alien installments used puppetry and CGI to render their aliens, making Badejo's xenomorph a curious yet uniquely threatening oddity. Badejo ended up doing an amazing job to help sell the illusion, and the xenomorph would go on to become one of Hollywood's most fearsome and unforgettable sci-fi monsters. Sadly, Badejo's alien legacy would long outlive him. He was only 39 when he passed away from sickle cell anemia in 1992. Originally, Jean-Claude Van Damme was cast to play the Predator in the 1987 action flick of the same name. Unfortunately, the bulked-out appearance of star Arnold Schwarzenegger and the rest of the cast made Van Damme seem way too small for the role, despite how amazing it would have been to see his Predator's kung fu skills. Van Damme was scrapped in favor of Kevin Peter Hall, who also starred as the towering title character in Harry and the Hendersons the same year. When you've got guys like Jesse the Body Ventura and Carl Weathers walking around a jungle, you're going to want to make your movie monster a true behemoth, and not the 5'10" muscles from Brussels. Thankfully, Hall's tall frame made for a perfect Predator in both the 1987 original and its 1990 sequel, Predator 2. The year after the sequel's release, Hall passed away at the tragically young age of 35, his life and career cut short by AIDS-related pneumonia. John Carpenter's low-budget 1978 slasher classic Halloween helped pave the way for a generation of unforgettable killers with the film's lumbering, silent, psychotic villain and future franchise star, Michael Myers. Carpenter added a heavy psychological aspect to the killer that we hadn't seen since Norman Bates decades prior, and envisioned the film's location, fictional Haddonfield, Illinois, as a typically idyllic suburb that turned unspeakably creepy after sunset on October 31st. After donning the mask in the first movie, Nick Castle's performance as The Shape would be imitated for years to come. He went on to enjoy a varied career too. He co-wrote Carpenter's dystopian action flick Escape from New York, helped write the story for Steven Spielberg's Hook, and has directed an assortment of movies that includes The Last Starfighter and The Boy Who Could Fly. 40 years after making horror history, Castle came full circle, agreeing to reprise his role as Michael Myers in the 2018 Halloween sequel. how could we assemble a list like this without including the man of our dreams? As much as Jackie Earle Haley chewed the scenery in the 2010 remake of A Nightmare on Elm Street, only one actor's name truly resonates with horror movie nightmares: Robert Englund. Horror fans got to watch Englund wield the bladed glove for nearly 2 decades, as he embodied the twisted character of Freddy Krueger over the course of 8 films. He even got his own anthology horror series, the aptly named Freddy's Nightmares, which ran for 2 seasons. There's no denying that Freddy is one of the most recognizable horror icons out there. Sure, his antics became a lot sillier as the years went by, but Wes Craven's New Nightmare was a proper return to form for the supernatural slasher. Maybe someday, Englund will don the fedora, sweater, and bladed glove one last time for a final trip down Elm Street. Until then, we can only dream about it.
Miss me?
Yes, it's true. Lots of people have played Jason Voorhees. We've seen the character go through some dramatic changes over the years. He wasn't even the main killer in the first Friday the 13th movie, and he didn't start wearing his iconic hockey mask until the third. A whopping 10 actors have played the character so far, but we'd have to choose Kane Hodder as the definitive Jason. While he didn't even sign on to the series until Friday the 13th Part 7, The New Blood, Hodder's role helped bring Jason into a new age of slasher flicks and made him the hulking, unstoppable menace that we all love and remember. He's also had the most experience playing Jason, as nearly every movie prior to Part 7 had someone different in the part. Donning the mask for 4 films, The New Blood, Jason Takes Manhattan, Jason Goes to Hell, The Final Friday, and Jason X, Hodder remains a horror heavyweight champion in our books. Hodder isn't done with Jason yet, either. He did motion capture work for Friday the 13th The Game, offering fans a chance to be part of the action for a whole new series of thrills. If you've seen a film by director James Wan, chances are you've probably spied composer Joseph Bashara's name amongst the credits. His scores appear in Insidious, The Conjuring, Insidious Chapter 2, The Conjuring 2, Aquaman, and Malignant. He's also provided musical stylings for other films in the Conjuring universe, from Annabelle to The Curse of La Llorona. But look closely, and you'll notice that Bashara enjoys more than just a composer credit in a slew of these films. Yes, the demonic beasties in Wan's films and the larger Conjuring universe are portrayed by the same guy who wrote their killer soundtracks. You can spy Bashara in the quick glimpses of the witch Bathsheba in The Conjuring, and as Malthus, the demonic entity possessing the titular doll in the Annabelle films. However, Bashara's portrayal of the lipstick-faced demon in the Insidious films is his greatest on-screen contribution to horror history. Maybe it's because he looks like Darth Maul's cousin, or maybe it's his love of Tiny Tim. But this child-killing demon is undeniably compelling thanks to Bashara's intimidating screen presence. It's hard to pinpoint the best part of The Return of the Living Dead, the hilariously bleak 1985 zombie horror film directed by Dan O'Bannon. But in a film full of nothing but highlights, one goopy lad steals the show: Tarman. After the character breaks out of a military-grade metal drum, he stumbles, sloshes, and drips his way from the basement to the ground floor of a medical supply warehouse. While some close-up scenes used a puppet, the longer shots required an actor. That actor ended up being performer and puppeteer Alan Troutman, who some may know best for his work on Jim Henson projects like The Muppets and Dinosaurs. Troutman is still bringing creatures to life, having lent his voice and puppeteering talents to 2016's The Jungle Book and 2021's Muppets Haunted Mansion. Given that Troutman reprised his role as the goopy ghoul in Return of the Living Dead Part 2, we're going to assume that, like us, the actor has a soft spot for this rotting hunk of reanimated flesh. If you're going into Barbarian for the first time, you might think that the bad guy is going to be Keith, the suspicious fellow played by Bill Skarsgård. But writer-director Zach Krueger has a few curveballs in store. After the secret beneath the barbaric Airbnb is revealed, Keith falls victim to the film's true villain, the Mother, a large, naked, aggressive woman who lives in the tunnel system below the house. Matthew Patrick Davis, a 6'8" theater artist with a sketch comedy background, portrays the Mother in all her glory. Davis's on-screen work has been predominantly on TV shows and short films, making Barbarian an interesting change of pace. In a chat with No Film School, Davis revealed that he booked the Barbarian gig by sending in a self-tape of himself half-naked baby birding a pickle into an imaginary victim's mouth. When asked about the most challenging part of his role, he responded, "I think the night shoots, because, I was ass out. I was nearly nude, and so it was cold." Davis's efforts paid off, though, as his performance helped make Barbarian one of the biggest surprises of 2022. Excuse us for being nostalgic, but we get a little wistful when we think back to the days when superhero movies could flirt with the horror genre. Case in point, 1998's Blade, the first feature film that sees Wesley Snipes, daywalking, katana-wielding vampire, face off against a blood-sucking megalomaniac who aims to unleash the Blood God. In Blade and Company's quest to save humanity, the gang tracks a suspicious human familiar to a secret vampire club. There, they meet Pearl, whose delicate name betrays the fact that this vampire is a grotesque heap of flesh. Pearl is a sight to behold, from his ferocious flatulence to his childlike high-pitched voice. The latter aspect is especially disturbing in light of director Stephen Norrington's statement on the DVD commentary that Pearl's blob-like size is the result of his endless hunger for infants.
There's nothing you can do about it, Daywalker!
Is that so?
Somewhere deep beneath several inches of foam latex is actor Eric Edwards. While Pearl took multiple crew members to fully operate, it's Edwards who gets the credit for being entombed in 700 pounds of latex. Born in Kansas, Edwards' other on-screen performances include supporting roles in Sergeant Bilko and Candyman. Long before Godzilla became a digital CGI Goliath, actors portrayed the king of all monsters by stomping around in heavy, sweaty suits. Through forced perspective, human-sized costumes appear to be towering giants, capable of easily crushing cars, buildings, and historical landmarks. Of all the actors tasked with bringing kaiju to life, one name reigns supreme: Haruo Nakajima. Born in 1929, Nakajima began his film career as a stuntman in samurai movies and war films, including Akira Kurosawa's Seven Samurai. Nakajima then portrayed Godzilla in 12 consecutive films, making him one of the most beloved and prolific suit actors in the kaiju genre. In a 2017 video interview with Great Big Story, Nakajima shared that he would observe animals at the zoo on lunch breaks to find inspiration for Godzilla's walk. He also explained that because rubber was in short supply in Japan following World War II, the suit for Godzilla was made out of mixed concrete in the early days, making it extremely heavy. Nakajima retired from suit acting in 1972 and passed away from pneumonia complications in 2017. The filmmaking team behind 2019's Godzilla, King of the Monsters dedicated the film to his memory. Despite being the universal monster with the least amount of credits to his name, Gill-Man is one of the most compelling creature designs out there. Debuting in Jack Arnold's Creature from the Black Lagoon, Gill-Man's design was, until recently, unsung handiwork by Disney animator Millicent Patrick. Gill-Man is the perfect balance of pathos and practicality. Without room for words, it fell to the men behind the airtight molded sponge rubber masks to humanize the creature's dexterous webbed hands, powerful legs, and accusatory gaze. While Ben Chapman, who portrayed the Gill-Man above water, certainly deserves recognition, it's the other man behind the suit who has inextricably linked himself with the creature, Riku Browning. At 23, Browning worked at Weeki Wachee Springs, a freshwater roadside tourist attraction. Some out-of-town Hollywood types asked him to help with location scouting, and before long, they were asking him to portray the titular creature in the film's underwater scenes. While Browning ultimately pivoted to working behind the camera as a writer, director, and stunt coordinator, he reprised his role as the underwater Gill-Man for 2 sequels. Frankenstein's monster is one of the most recognizable characters in horror history, and no version of the man-made man is more iconic than the one in Universal Pictures' series of films. In 1931, Universal's Frankenstein hit theaters, featuring Colin Clive as the Doctor and Boris Karloff as his monster. Born William Henry Pratt, Boris Karloff got his start on the Canadian stage in the early 1910s. He ultimately made his way to Hollywood, appearing in silent films where his Anglo-Indian heritage led to castings in Arab, Indigenous, and Asian roles. Karloff racked up 81 credits before being cast in Frankenstein and its sequel, Bride of Frankenstein. Jack Pierce, who had previously worked on Universal Pictures' Dracula, conceived the makeup for Frankenstein's monster. Of all the details that make up the monster's final appearance, the rectangular skull, the overhanging brow, the towering height, one of the subtler features was something of a happy accident. As James L. Nebar relayed in the monster movies of Universal Studios, Karloff and Pierce achieved the creature's sunken cheeks by removing the actor's dental plate.
Danny DeVito makes a great villain, though in our hearts he's absolutely anything but. He unforgettably demonstrated his penchant for evil in 1992's Batman Returns, in which he played classic Batman foe the Penguin. His real name is Oswald Cobblepot, which sounds a bit like a fake name that DeVito's It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia character Frank Reynolds might come up with. DeVito is a pretty physically distinct individual, so plenty of his fans probably recognized him in Batman Returns, even underneath all the makeup. But the criminal gang leader, who's raised by a family of sewer penguins, doesn't really look anything like the actor we know and love. Designing the character involved experimenting with multiple nose shapes and many different makeup hues. In the end, DeVito's face was painted a pasty white, his teeth were made to look rotten, and his eyes were heavily shadowed. And most disgustingly of all, the penguin drools black saliva.
It would just kind of ooze out, and drip down.
Believe it or not, actor Doug Jones's eyes aren't really located in the palms of his hands, like how they are when he plays the Pale Man in the 2006 fantasy film Pan's Labyrinth. In real life, his bodily features are where you'd expect them to be, except when he's utilizing his contortionist skills. But on screen, he can often be seen playing otherworldly creatures. If you're a film buff, you've probably seen plenty of his work, but chances are you wouldn't recognize him on the street, as his roles nearly always require heavy makeup and prosthetics. Jones is a very lean 6 foot 3 inches tall, which makes him perfect for a wide variety of non-human roles, like Billy in Hocus Pocus or the Amphibian Man in The Shape of Water. It's fitting and unsurprising then that he collaborates often with director Guillermo del Toro, who's known for his distinct and elaborate visuals. Del Toro directed Pan's Labyrinth, in which Jones played both the Pale Man and the Faun. In real life, Jones is a genial man who describes himself as a dyed-in-the-wool Christian from the Midwest. Adorably, he recently recreated his engagement photo with his college sweetheart-turned-wife on their 35th anniversary and posted the result on Twitter. Hugo Weaving is so unrecognizable as the Red Skull in Captain America: The First Avenger that some fans might not have even noticed that he was replaced by another actor in Avengers Infinity War and Endgame. The new Red Skull was brought to life by Ross Marquand, in a part largely created with CGI. Things were a lot more physical for Weaving, as he sat in the makeup chair for hours on set while the design team worked their magic with 7 pieces of overlapping silicone. The difference between these two Red Skulls is actually what led to Weaving turning down the opportunity to return to the role. As he revealed to Time Out in 2020, Marvel backed away from the contracts that they'd originally agreed upon by attempting to pay Weaving less for the new movies than for the first Avenger. Weaving recounted, "They said it's just a voice job, it's not a big deal. I actually found negotiating with them through my agent impossible, and I didn't really want to do it that much, but I would have done it." While you probably won't see Weaving in any future Avengers films, you can certainly see him in plenty of other high-profile movies. He played the revolutionary masked main character in V for Vendetta, and his real face became easily recognizable after he played Agent Smith in the Matrix movies and Elrond in the Lord of the Rings trilogy. Jim Carrey's notoriously expressive face can render him unrecognizable from one moment to the next. The versatile actor has played many roles that have utilized his chameleonic nature. He was cartoonishly transformed for 1994's The Mask, he sported bright red hair and a green mask as the Riddler in 1995's Batman and Forever, and then in 2000 he wore head-to-toe green fur in How the Grinch Stole Christmas. You might call all of those roles a series of fortunate events, as they made Carrey famous and earned him plenty of dough, but the coincidences that plague the Baudelaire siblings in 2004's Lemony Snicket's A Series of Unfortunate Events, in which Carrey played Count Olaf, aren't nearly so whimsical. Portraying Olaf was no walk in the park either, as Carrey reportedly had to spend 3 hours in the makeup chair each day to play the villain who stalks and tortures the Baudelaires. But it wasn't all bad, as he's admitted that he had a, quote, childlike fascination with the transformational powers of makeup that he experienced in that film. It's safe to say that his fans share the fascination and love him no matter what form his features take. Darth Maul, the Vermilion villain from the Star Wars universe, was played by Ray Park, a martial artist and actor who got his start as a stunt double in 1997's Mortal Kombat Annihilation. Since then, he's appeared in a number of action-oriented parts, with Maul being the most famous. Park loved playing him, one reason being that becoming the character through the magic of makeup gave him a real rush. The Sith Lord's appearance instantly communicates that he's a formidable presence and a major menace. His unique look, combined with Park's particular set of skills, resulted in a villain who truly terrified every Star Wars fan in the world. During a 2019 interview with Sci-Fi Wire, Park recalled a directive he received from producer Rick McCallum. From Rick, it was like, "Now Ray, I want you to be mean. I want you to scare every child in America and around the world. You're gonna be bad." This turned out to be an inspired casting choice, as Park was able to use his martial arts background to battle in a lightsaber fight grounded in very little script direction. His face might not be recognizable in this role, but his moves definitely are. When Daveigh Chase isn't climbing out of the TV as she did in the 2002 horror classic The Ring, she's a considerably less terrifying figure. In fact, she's even worked as a model. Her TV and movie parts have definitely been on the darker side, though. Her first major live-action role was the 2001 psychological thriller Donnie Darko as the title character's little sister, and then starting in 2006, she played the sociopathic Rhonda Vollmer on the HBO series Big Love. In The Ring, Chase played Samara, whose fiendish powers have created a cursed videotape that kills people 7 days after they've watched it. While Samara is mostly seen with long black hair, a haggard face, and a white gown, we do briefly get to see her without ghoulish makeup in one scene. During a recording of a psychiatric session watched by Naomi Watts' character, Samara discusses her inability to control her psychic powers. Chase was only 12 years old when the film came out, so you might not recognize her nowadays if you see her on the street, both because she's probably not wearing all that villain makeup and because she's all grown up.
And I'm sorry. It won't stop.
With his performance as the Joker in 2008's The Dark Knight, the late Heath Ledger gave the world perhaps the most iconic portrayal of the clown prince of crime. Though he was rendered unrecognizable by makeup, stringy green hair, and a devilish sneer, his name has become synonymous with the role. That's in large part because Ledger didn't just become the Joker when he put on the makeup. His commitment ran much deeper than that. Throughout production on the film, he kept a diary full of playing cards, quotes from the movie, and excerpts from the comics that reflect the neuroses of the character. He locked himself away in apartments and hotel rooms to work on the diary, allowing himself to perfect his portrayal of the terrifying criminal.
See, I'm not a monster. I'm just ahead of the curve.
Underneath the Joker makeup, Ledger was a handsome man with dirty blonde hair. He also had plenty of other talents and hobbies besides acting, as he was both a former chess champion and an avid photographer. His acting work ranged from the 1999 teen rom-com 10 Things I Hate About You to wrenching dramas like 2005's Brokeback Mountain. The Joker was just one of his many triumphs on screen, but it's one that fans of his will always remember with awe. The greatest mystery of Rebecca Romijn's Mystique, who first appears on screen in 2000's X-Men, is how her blue makeup was able to stick to her. It wasn't easy, as her first screen test required a jaw-dropping 12 hours in the makeup chair, which was cut down to a still staggering 9 for the second movie, 2003's X2, X-Men United, and finally down to 7 for 2006's X-Men The Last Stand. That all sounds particularly grueling, even by Hollywood standards. In fact, it seems like it would require mutant powers for an actor to get through it, especially when you consider that Romijn had to be made up and on set at 9 a.m. As for the rest of her career, she's had plenty of other roles that don't require quite so much detailed preparation. You may have seen her, for example, as number 1 on Star Trek Discovery or as Alexis Mead on Ugly Betty. And she's also hosted Skin Wars, a competition show that centers around insane body painting challenges. She certainly knows something about that. It's not just the bald head and the missing nose that make Ralph Fiennes so unrecognizable as Harry Potter nemesis, Lord Voldemort. It's also the fact that the actor is rather striking in real life. And you don't have to look far for proof, as he's appeared in a number of films in which his natural face is fully visible. Though Voldemort's visage is decidedly different from Fiennes, the transformational process wasn't as complicated as you might expect. Temporary tattoos, false teeth, and fake fingernails were all it took to turn this talented thespian into the most despised villain in the wizarding world. Over in the Muggle world, you've probably seen Fiennes in a variety of flicks. In 1993, he infamously played war criminal Amon Gert in Schindler's List, which earned him an Oscar nomination for Best Supporting Actor. Then, 1996's The English Patient led to another round of accolades, and more recently, he's appeared in the likes of Clash of the Titans, The Grand Budapest Hotel, and the James Bond Bond franchise, starting with 2012's Skyfall.